on the final lap before the rolling start. And among the huge crowd, there's an expat Brit who's been doing rather well over here.
Yeah, just a chance to look around, actually come and see some old friends, Perry McCarthy and Julian Bailey. And with Mercedes-Benz, I'm a Mercedes-Benz driver, and they invited me to come and take a look, and it's good fun.
So what do you think of this battle for the title? Mercedes obviously heavily involved.
Mercedes obviously is the one I've got to vote for. You know, that's me, I'm part of the family, so, and I think they're going to do it. I mean, the cars are very strong. But I think it's going to be a great race here. This is a great race circuit. They're going to enjoy it.
They certainly are. Here they come. 3 Mercedes plus Alan McNish in the Porsche. Then the Dalmas Porsche and Championship Challenger later in the McLaren. They're away. 3 Mercedes move. Wurz, Schneider, Nannini. But McNish in the Porsche is alongside Nannini as they go down into the first corner. McNish is nosing ahead. Still the 2 Mercedes ahead. But look at McNish going round the outside of Nannini and Schneider going round the outside of Wurz. Schneider has the lead. It's Schneider. It's Wurz. But now McNish is alongside. McNish is alongside Wurz for second place, and he's through. Schneider going wide. Schneider on the dirt. McNish leads. What a magnificent start from young Alan McNish, leading the 3 Works Mercedes. We ride now with Gary Ailes and the Parabolica McLaren. Ahead of him is Collard's Porsche, but now the whole field are going swooping through the tortuous downhill S-bends of the corkscrew, and that Porsche leading the Mercedes. Yannick Dalmas has also passed Nannini's Mercedes, pushed that down to 5th place, and JJ Leto in the McLaren is 6th, ahead of Boutsen. Steve Soper is 8th. This is the GT2 battle. Viper from Marcos from 911 Porsche. Uwe Altzen battling there with his teammate. Altzen, who co-drives with Hurtgen, who's really going for this championship, Claudia Hurtgen. And already we have our first problem for the little blue Morgan. That's Mark Hales retiring the gallant little English car. And meanwhile, Steve Soper and JJ Leto are running together in the 2 Schnitzer McLarens. Leto is 7th, Soper is 8th. Behind them in 9th place is Eric Bernard in the black French-entered Paynos. And this is a pretty new sensation for both JJ Leto and Steve Soper, because all season long they've shared the same car, which has given them such tremendous success, and they've either been in the car or watching from the pits. But now they're both on the circuit at once, both of them driving a Schnitzer car each, because the team are hedging their bets in this final run to the championship. Gary Ailes now. He's in a McLaren too, the yellow Parabolica car, of course. Oh, and going through on the inside, that's John Nielsen's McLaren, squeezing through on the inside of that left-hander as Gary Ailes works away. And now we're back with the leader. This is Alan McNish, looking good. It's the first time this season that the GT1 Porsche has had the legs of the Works Mercedes, and that's an indication of what a great drive we're seeing from the Scotsman here, chopping through the back markers already. Now we're riding in GT2 once more. This is Bruno Eichmann, oh, very nearly getting it wrong as he goes plunging down the corkscrew in his GT2 Porsche. Just ahead of him, the yellow Marcos. He's straining to get closer. And Eric Bernard slowing right down, pulling off, in fact, pulling right off the circuit in the Dams Paynos. That car's race surely now run. Some sort of mechanical failure, I would guess. And this is Alexander Wurz off the circuit, on the dirt. Alexander Wurz is off in the Mercedes. What has happened? He's now accelerating through a great cloud of dust back onto the circuit again, and that's what's happened. One of the GT2 Porsches T-bones Alexander Wurz. The 2 cars go off. This is very bad news early in the race for the Mercedes Challenge. Meanwhile, Justin Bell, only 5th in GT2 at the moment. Look, there's Bernd Schneider just lapping him as they go through that left-hander. But Justin's going to have to move on up if he's to keep his title hopes alive. Now, into the pits, very early. JJ Leto has come in. What is the problem? JJ Leto, the championship challenger, has brought the Schnitzer McLaren into the pits, and he's out of the car. JJ Leto out of the car. This looks very serious. It looks terminal. They're crawling all over the car, looking at the back of it. But JJ Leto's out. JJ Leto, crash helmet off. He's walking away, and now in comes Alexander Wurz. He's just had that spin. He's done a couple of laps to see if all is well, and he's brought that car in. Still in the car, and they've got it up on the jacks, and they're going to take the front off. I think they're going to have a look to see whether there is indeed any damage. The car doesn't look superficially damaged, but who knows what's happened underneath in that accident with the GT2 Porsche of Wolfgang Kaufmann. Now that's the Dutchman Cor Oyzer, who was well placed in GT2 with that Marcos. He's parking, so that's going to promote Justin Bell just one more place. Now we ride with Gary Ailes. Gary Ailes on the tail of that Lotus, right in front of him. He's looking for a way past. The Lotus is pretty quick and getting on the brakes very late. The Lotus just eases away a little bit, but there's some back markers ahead, and now Gary Ailes closes up this centrally seated McLaren with the chopped off top of the steering wheel. Now he's getting alongside. Can he get through? He does. He goes past and he nibbles away at the back markers. Woo! Nearly hits the back of one of them, fighting that car. Now this is Alessandro Nannini's Mercedes coming in, and it's steaming and smoking at the back. They've got a fire extinguisher on it. It's not going well for two of the three Mercedes in this race, at least. Now, what happened? We see a replay. Nannini apparently hitting the back of Yannick Dalmas's car, and whether that did some damage, which has now forced the car into the pits, certainly Nannini's car is wasting a lot of time. Justin Bell there being lapped by Steve Soper as they go over that hump and then tortuously down through the corkscrew. What hard work this circuit is, narrow, constantly twisting and up and down. That's one of the Gulf McLarens lapping Justin Bell. That'll be Pierre-Henri Raffanel. Now one of the Porsches is in trouble, and we're seeing a replay. It's the Mustang which moves across Thierry Boutsen. The two cars collide. Most of the front of Thierry Boutsen's bodywork comes away, and yet again one of the slower cars getting in the way of one of the quicker cars. This is Thierry Boutsen's eye view. He comes up wanting to lap this traffic in front of him, and the Mustang moves across. You see it coming in from the right, clouts the bodywork, gets very, very sideways, gets himself straight. But now Thierry Boutsen has the bodywork absolutely flapping in front of his windscreen, dragging along with a still lit headlamp, and he's making his way to the pits. Now he's in the pit lane. Into the pit lane comes the number 6 Porsche with bits of bodywork falling off. The mechanics go straight to action, pull it away, pull out the remains of the electrical wiring, and now there's a new front section already waiting. On it goes, but that car has been badly delayed. But there's still a GT1 Porsche in the lead, of course. Alan McNish is driving absolutely magnificently. There he goes through the traffic, through the long downhill of the corkscrew. Alan McNish leads for Porsche. Bernd Schneider, the championship leader, is in second place with his Mercedes. Yannick Dalmas is third with his GT1 Porsche. And in fourth place now, up into fourth place has come Steve Soper with his McLaren, so the championship isn't done and dusted yet. Bernd Schneider second, Steve Soper fourth, and that is the battle for the championship. JJ Leto already changed and in the pits and waiting to see what's going to happen. This is the British run John Greasley GT1 Porsche, Jeff Lister at the wheel, and now this GT2 battle between the two Rook Racing Porsches. Bruno Eichmann, the Swiss. Just in front of him is Uwe Altzen in the car that is shared with Claudia Hurtgen. They're being lapped now by Yannick Dalmas's GT1 Porsche, and all season these Rook Racing 911s have been so professionally driven that they've managed to have their own battles and still keep out of the way of the quicker cars. And now, to underline the speed of the remarkable Alan McNish, he's coming up now to lap the talented Formula One driver Alex Wurz. He goes inside Alex Wurz, neat and determined and deliberate, and one wonders with the form that Alan McNish is showing here in Laguna Seca today, why haven't Porsche been using him all season? We've got two Gulf McLarens in for refueling at the same time. It's looking very crowded down there. They've taken the fuel lines off the Anders Olofsson Jeff Lee's car. Now they're putting them back on again. The mechanic at the back is getting so frustrated with these delays, and in front of them there is the John Nielsen car being handed over to Thomas Becheur. They're going to have to drag back Anders Olofsson's car so that he can get out. There is the car in front still being worked on, and a mechanic throws a wheel across at the pit's counter, which seems to blow a lot of compressed air out of an air bottle. Meanwhile, Thomas Becheur has stalled his car. He tried to drive off when there was still a wheel wrench attached to one of the back wheels. Now he's stalled. Now he's got it restarted again. What an absolute pantomime. And there's the lead car, Ralph Kellener's aboard. There is Alan McNish, the hero of the day. Alan McNish, after being a man to watch in Formula 3000, his career has been in the doldrums, but it's certainly come alive here in California today.
Alan, you made an absolutely storming start.
Yeah, I managed to get round Nannini at the first corner, slip inside the second guy, and the third guy made it easy. He just slid off the track and got into the lead. From there I was surprised how easy I was able to stay in front. The Mercs pushed hard right at the end, I had a 4-second gap, but it dropped back because of traffic. And now I've handed over to Ralph. He should be okay.
Justin Bell, still fourth in GT2. He's got a lot of work to do. The title seems to be slipping away because Bruno Eichmann now leading GT2 and now therefore effectively leading the GT2 championship. That's Greg Moore, who's just lapped him in the Wurz Mercedes. The American IndyCar driver Greg Moore guesting once more, and a GT1 Porsche going through as well. 2 McLarens off. 2 McLarens are off. The yellow Parabolica car, Gary Ailes still at the wheel, and that's the Roberto Ravaglia car. Ravaglia has just taken over from Steve Soper, and his wheels are in the gravel trap, the back wheels. He doesn't seem to be able to dig himself away, and that could be the championship decided. Well, the GT2 championship is far from decided. We ride with Bruno Eichmann and slithering through the Nannini Tiemann GT1 Mercedes. And Mercedes are now leading this race because following the Alan McNish pit stop, which took much too long, they had a problem with the wheel brace. That allowed the Schneider Mercedes, now driven by Klaus Ludwig, there it is, the one with the yellow mirrors, into the lead. Yannick Dalmas and Bob Wallach in their GT1 Porsche are now second. And the Alan McNish Porsche, driven now by Ralph Kelleners, is in third place. And Roberto Ravaglia's managed to get that McLaren out of the gravel. He's driven it round, he's got it to the pits. So Ravaglia's car back, that's the Parabolica one, getting bodywork repairs. They put Chris Goodwin in the car, so Chris Goodwin takes it back into the race. There's Gary Ailes looking at the computer to see where they're really placed. And the Ravaglia Soper car being worked on. There's quite a large portion of the bodywork missing just in front of that right-hand rear wheel, but they're changing the right-hand rear wheel. They're clearly going to get it back in the race. Roberto Ravaglia in the car, and that means that Steve Soper's championship challenge goes on. And as Klaus Ludwig continues to lead in the car that Schneider started the race with, we watch the second Dave Price Paynos. This is Perry McCarthy and Olivier Griard working their way through the back markers, this distinctive looking front engine car. Now we ride with Hans Stuck, the veteran Austrian and one of the great sports car drivers of modern motor racing. He's in the Works GT1 Porsche. In front of him, the 2 silver GT2 Porsches of the Rook Racing team, and they are now battling over the GT2 lead. The Altzen and Hertzgen car and the Ortelli Eichmann car, and in fact they're not making it particularly easy for him to get by. He gets by one of them, and now he's going to look for a way around the other, and he gets past. On the power once more, and still there's more traffic for him to get by. One of the Marcoses. Then there's a Chamberlain Viper. And another GT1 Porsche ahead to swallow up. Now here's Roberto Ravaglia back in the race in the Schnitzer McLaren. His co-driver Steve Soper hasn't lost this championship yet. He's got a tough task. That car's now running 4 laps down. But in long-distance GT racing, anything can happen. Ludwig at the wheel still leads here at Laguna Seca in this final deciding round of the FIA GT Championship. That's Anders Olofsson running 6th in his Gulf McLaren. But Steve Soper, the only man who left who can beat Schneider, is still in the hunt in his McLaren. There's Justin Bell getting ready for his final stint in the Viper, watched by his fiancée Sarah, and Claudia Hertzgen, second in GT2 at the moment, chasing her teammate Bruno Eichmann. His Porsche leads GT2. And the Viper's not looking so strong at this point because the Gash Beretta Viper has been delayed by a pit stop penalty due to speeding in the pit lane. Julian Bailey there in the Lister pit, Eric van der Poel, his co-driver in the thundering V12 Jaguar-powered Lister. They're having a steady run in the midfield, and we watch Tommy Archer, Justin Bell's teammate in GT2. The Parabolica McLaren, the yellow car, Chris Goodwin at the wheel now, headlights blazing, and despite its damage on the side of that car, still seems to be going well. Hans Stuck now. Remember that Thierry Boutsen, his co-driver, had that collision with a Mustang earlier on, and Hans Stuck is now approaching another of these much slower Mustangs, goes through on the inside of a left-hander, and this time the Mustang does leave him enough room as they go plunging down through the corkscrew. Hans Stuck and Thierry Boutsen now in 5th place in this car after their earlier delays. And the GT1 Porsches do seem to be competitive round the twists of Laguna Seca. Still the Schneider Ludwig Mercedes leads, but we've got Porsches in 2nd, 3rd and 5th places. In fourth place, the McLaren, the Gulf car of Gounon and Raffanel. And sixth is the Pénards of Andy Wallace and David Brabham. We had a glimpse of them just then, and they're running strongly. There you see a comparison between a GT1 Porsche and a GT2 Porsche. And in the pits now, the other Dave Price Pénards, Perry McCarthy, starts his final stint. Co-driver Olivier Griard cooling down. It's very, very hot inside those front-engine Pénards cars. And Thierry Boutsen's back in the fifth-placed Porsche. There's Hans Stuck cooling down too. Racing is hard work in this Californian heat. And he's not very happy because they're still having to make up time after that earlier delay. That's Charlie Lamb, the Schnitzer McLaren team manager, still willing on Soper to make up time after his delays. As we ride now with Thierry Boutsen going past the Jan Lammers Lotus. He's shutting the door. Another collision for Thierry Boutsen. Perhaps that's going to mean another nose section. That is Thierry Boutsen being squeezed by the Lotus of the Dutchman Jan Lammers. There's Lammers' Lotus now come into the pits. There must be some damage on that car, and I wonder if poor Thierry Boutsen and Hans Stuck are going to have to make another stop. That's the second place GT1 Porsche of Yannick Dalmas and Bob Wallach, and Mark Blundell having a little word with Bernd Schneider, who's getting ready for his final stint. Mercedes drivers both, those two of course, because that's what Mark Blundell uses for his power in IndyCar racing. Here's Pierre-Henri Raffanel in the best-placed McLaren in the race, the Gulf McLaren. He's behind the John Greasley Porsche as they go through the downhill sweeps, and the GT1 Greasley Porsche still holding up Raffanel. Raffanel flashes his lights now and manages to squeeze down the inside. Meanwhile, at the front of the race, Klaus Ludwig's got a little bit of traffic to cope with because he's got the GT2 battles just in front of him. The Viper there, just ahead of him, is the Gash Beretta Viper. He goes past the GT2 Porsche with no problem at all, but the Viper ahead of him as they go down that long, twisting, plunging section, the corkscrew, of course. And the Viper still ahead of him as in the pits Nannini gets ready for his final stint, and also getting ready Alexander Wurz. There he is, Wurz, the very tall young Austrian, and there's Bernd Schneider, the championship leader, with his seat ready. These drivers change their seats when they change drivers. That's the way that they get comfortable. He's got his name on it so that he makes sure he picks up the right seat. That could be very worrying if he gets the wrong one. There's a Parabolica pit stop, and it looks as though Parabolica have called it a day. That car stationary in the pits as in comes Klaus Ludwig. Klaus Ludwig comes down the pit lane. One of the Mustangs in front of him pulls across into its pit as the Mercedes with yellow mirrors, the leading car, comes in. Klaus Ludwig comes to a halt right on the spot. The tyres are ready, and Bernd Schneider opens the door, gets him out, and gets himself in. GT1 Porsches battling on meanwhile. Yannick Dalmas ahead of Ralph Kelleners. Kelleners in the number 47 car, which will be handed over to Alan McNish before very long. McNish down here in the pits, waiting and ready and longing to get back at the wheel of that car. That's Jean-Marc Gounon in the McLaren in fourth place, but now Ralph Kelleners has brought the McNish Porsche into the pits. McNish takes over and leaves the pit lane now. Let's hear from Ralph Kelleners.
Yeah, I'm very hot in the car too. Well, we had a little bit of a problem when we had our first pit stop. I think the front wheel nut didn't come off. I think in the moment we're on third place, so hopefully we can stay there. I mean, the place on the rostrum would be fantastic, even though he was leading in the beginning, but still, rostrum would be just fantastic.
Greg Moore out of that Mercedes, hands over to Alex Wurz, who gets his lofty frame into the cockpit somehow, and the Parabolica McLaren is out. So Chris Goodwin's first FIA GT season is over.
I'll be back. Now, one way or another, we'll be back. We've got a lot of unfinished business. We've had a brilliant year. Parabolica has had just a fantastic year, really, for a team's first year in motorsport. I think we're 6th or 7th in the World Championship as a team. So, crikey, that's not bad.
Jean-Marc Gounon bringing the third-place McLaren in to hand over to Pierre-Henri Raffanel. It's third because Alan McNish's pit stop was a long one. Again, they had a lot of trouble getting the Porsche's wheels changed, and that means that this McLaren has gone ahead into third place. If they have a quick stop, they're going to get out and still be in front of the flying Alan McNish, who is tramping on. This man is tramping on too. This is Bernd Schneider. Bernd Schneider now with a 20 seconds lead over the Yannick Dalmas Bob Wallach Porsche. they're in second place. In third place, the Gunnar Raffanel McLaren. In fourth place now, the McNish Kellener's Porsche. And that's the Lister Storm in its troubled weekend, down in 23rd place, and Pierre-Henri Raffanel has caught up with it and is trying to get by, but the Lister is not making it particularly easy. And the McLaren's lights are... Oh, yes, the McLaren locked up its brakes there. He thought that the Lister Storm was letting it through. At the last moment, the Lister Storm slammed the door, and you saw Raffanel locking up his wheels. He's now flashing his lights. He's trying to get past the big V12 Lister, and now he does so. But that will have all helped Alan McNish to creep a little bit closer. There is the number 5 Paynos, and that is Andy Wallace going extremely well, lapping one of the GT2 back markers. Andy Wallace now has that car up into 6th place now. It's looking like another points finish for the Paynos. The GT2 battle still going on. This is Bruno Eichmann and Stefan Ortelli. Stefan Ortelli now at the wheel of that car. They're leading. Beretta and Gash are splitting the Rook Porsches. There they are. You saw a glimpse of the big V10 Viper, the white one with the blue stripes. Ahead of it there's a blue one with white stripes, which is one of the slower Chamberlain cars. But Beretta and Gash are in second place as we ride with Alexander Wurz in 8th place. And ahead of him you can see Philippe Gash in second place in GT2, third in GT2, Altzen and Hertgen in their GT2 Porsche, and a wheel! There's a wheel from somebody's car rolling across the Californian landscape. Whose car has gone onto 3 wheels? It's a GT1 Porsche, a GT2 Porsche, I should say. It's the number 87 car, the third Rook car, John Robinson, Hugh Price and Andreas Ahler, and the car on 3 wheels and a brake disc, making its cautious way back to the pits. The driver waving to his crew saying, come and rescue me, I want to finish this race if you can get a 4th wheel on my wagon. In fact, it's not the brake disc, now I can see it, it is the centre of the wheel. The wheel itself has come into 2 pieces. The rim has gone off, taking the tyre with it, and off goes Alessandro Nannini. Alessandro Nannini, a big dusty moment. He gets it back onto the circuit once more, but that was Alessandro Nannini getting it all wrong in the big V12 Mercedes, and that is further indication that the Mercedes just aren't nimble enough to get... We see it again, he gets on the opposite lock, but the car slides onto the dusty runoff area. These Mercedes are just not as nimble as the GT1 Porsches round here, but that's Steve Soper. Steve Soper fighting on. You can see the great gap in the bodywork at the right-hand side of this car because of the damage it sustained when it collided with the Parabolica McLaren earlier on. But Steve Soper, he's a long way down, but he's still driving hard. That's the Stuck Boutsen GT1 Porsche making that extra stop, which we knew they would have to make, and trying to hold on to 5th place. And that cloud of smoke from a GT2 Porsche, that is significant. That's Uwe Altzen's car, and that could change the whole complexion of the GT2 Championship. He's got it back to the pits, the number 57 Porsche, but that car sounds very, very sick indeed. I would think that Uwe Altzen is out, and that is the end of Claudia Hertgen's GT2 Championship hopes. So while Bernd Schneider goes on his way leading the GT1 Championship, that's Uwe Altzen on the left commiserating with the very rapid Claudia Hertgen, who's been such a star in GT2 racing this year, and how disappointed she now must be. But the other Rook Racing GT2 Porsche of Bruno Eichmann still leads. There it is, leading GT2, with the Vipers second and third, Beretta and Gash second, Bell and Archer third, and that means that if there's no change in the order from now to the end of the race, Bruno Eichmann will beat Justin Bell to the GT2 Drivers' Championship. There is Justin Bell in his Viper, but ahead of him is his own teammate, Olivier Beretta, and I wonder if the Viper team will tell Beretta that he's got to slow down and let Justin Bell catch him. If they do that, then Justin Bell could still be the GT2 champion. Bruno Eichmann leading that class, Justin Bell in third place. And there is Hugues de Schonack. He is the Oreca boss, the man who runs these French-entered Vipers, and I just would love to know what they're talking about. But I would hazard the guess that is Sarah praying that Justin Bell is going to be able to get this second place. Oh, and one of the Mustangs has gone off in a big way in the corkscrew. That's the Shirl van car. It's hit the wall and the front is very badly damaged. He's still on the circuit, but there's a lot of debris. We see it again. He hits on one side, then he spins across the road, a lot of debris. The GT1 Porsches picking their way through. There's one of the Lotuses going through. And look, there's an advertising hoarding wrapped over the air intake of the leading Schneider car as a result of that accident. The Mustangs have not made the best impression, I think it's fair to say, in this race, and a lot of debris on the circuit at the corkscrew. And there's Hughes to Schoenack, and now surely he is giving instructions to slow down Olivier Beretta. Yes, there is Olivier Beretta, who is very obviously slowing, and Justin Bell, who is getting on for half a lap down on him, is now catching him very, very quickly indeed. There is Beretta, and Justin Bell catching him all the time, and Justin Bell has caught him. Justin Bell goes through as we start the final lap here. It's the Viper with the yellow mirrors that has gone ahead. Justin Bell is second now in GT2. He's a lap behind that Porsche ahead of him, but he is now in second place. He's going to win the GT2 championship if nothing goes wrong on this final lap. And the man who's going to win the GT1 championship, with Alex Burks following him, it's Bernd Schneider, who gets onto the final straight of the final race of the 1997 GT season. The checkered flag waves. Bernd Schneider is GT1 champion, and here come the Vipers. Justin Bell is going to be second. Sarah cheers him home, and Justin Bell is second in GT2. Justin Bell is GT2 champion. And the celebrations in the Mercedes pit around Klaus Ludwig, the co-driver. Here is Bernd Schneider waving at the crowd, bringing that travel-stained Mercedes home. And there is Justin Bell with congratulations from Sarah. Justin Bell with the first international championship title.
This will help Justin believe it's true. Confirmation of the final standings, but it couldn't have been closer. The Viper driver only 1 point ahead of Eichmann in the Porsche. And these are the other champions. Mercedes taking the team and driver GT1 titles. Bernd Schneider finished in style, his 6th win of the season, and a great performance from Scotsman Alan McNish, proving his worth in the Porsche, 3rd place in a rare appearance in this GT series. Bad news though for Paynos, they've been disqualified from 6th and 14th, both cars failing their scrutineering checks after the race. These are the season standings, Bernd Schneider eventually finishing well clear of Leto and Soper, but it wasn't until these final 2 races that their challenge dissolved.
Okay, today they were really unlucky, and I was in Mugello, but this is racing, you know. It was very open, everything until the end, and that time it was worked out for us. Maybe the other time is for them, but today we were happy and we will have the party. Maybe next time they are.
Well, I think it's good we could take the championship to the last race of the year, but unfortunately for us, the wrong person and the wrong car won. But I mean, we did have a good year. We had 4 wins, and basically it was good driving with JJ. We had a good relationship, and I enjoyed it very much. And maybe we'll do something again next year.
Mixed emotions then for our contingent on the final day of the season. Just a shame Steve Soper couldn't sustain that GT1 challenge, but no doubt the GT2 champion Justin Bell will be beaming all the way back to Britain. I hope you've enjoyed ITV's coverage today and throughout the season. Until next time, goodbye.